Oh, wait. Are we on? Oh, hey. Hello, everyone. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Now I'm okay. Let me mute this. Okay. We are live. This is live, guys. Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Valera, and today we are doing a versus. We're going to be taking Texas and pitting it against Florida, and we're going to see who ends up winning in the end. And I have a special guest for this particular topic. We're going to be going over the schools. We're going to be going over the taxes. We're going to be talking about jobs. We're going to be talking about the weather, the culture, a lot of great things here about both states and kind of comparing them side by side. So that way, if you're watching and you're considering a move to either Texas or Florida, you can really weigh your options well. So we hope that by the end of this, you get a lot of great information. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our special guest. His name is Paul Lykins, and he's going to introduce the rest of himself.
Hey everybody, Paul Lykins. I'm an agent with Keller Williams here in the Boynton Beach area in Palm Beach County, Florida. Basically, I'm over on the east coast of Florida, Palm Beach County, places like West Palm Beach, Delray Beach, Boca Raton. You may recognize some of those cities, and I've been here for about 28 years. This is kind of fun because I am a native Texan. I was born and raised in San Antonio, but I moved here in '92 and have been living the Florida lifestyle ever since. As I say, enjoy paradise. We live where you vacation.
That's right. I wanted to have Paul on today just to kind of get a little bit of perspective when it comes to the two states, because we are talking about Florida and Texas today and kind of comparing them side by side. So we're going to start with the schools, because if you're moving with the family, you're thinking about schools, whether you have a kid that's in high school or you have little kids that are about to be in elementary school. They're important no matter where you go and where you're going to live. So we're going to start off with schools. Now, a great website that I like to use a lot of times is called niche.com. So niche.com really kind of gives you a comprehensive look as to not only how are the schools rated, but also they tell you about diversity. They tell you about what it's ranked within its certain area even, which is really nice. It will let you know how great the activities are. Do they offer a lot of activities? Do they not offer a lot of activities? What are the teachers? How do they rate the teachers, and how do they determine that? So it's a great thing. You can do it by city. You can do it by high schools. You can find all types of great information there. So I'm going to actually share my screen so that everyone can kind of see what I'm talking about. So we're going to go to, let's see, where did it go? We'll just share my entire Chrome tab. Here we go. Have it open. This is live, so that's why I'm not as quick. All right, here we go. So let's take a look at niche.com. So you can see right here that these are the best school districts in Texas. So it'll tell you in Texas as a whole where the best school districts are. And if you click on each one, like Eanes Independent School District, you can click on it. It's ranked #1 in Texas, and it'll show you where it's located. See, it's close to Austin here. It's rated A+. It tells you A+ for academics, diversity, college prep, health and safety, clubs and activities. I mean, you can see the full report card. It talks about food. It talks about sports. It has contact information for the ISD, just a lot of great information, ranked best places to teach in Texas, #2. So it even has the teacher's perspective, which is really, really nice. Let me go back to some of the other schools. Let me go back so you can kind of see. So this was close to Austin. Now Carroll ISD is actually is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's in Southlake, which is kind of like a halfway in between the two cities or two metropolitan areas. And then South Texas Independent Schools District, that's in Mercedes. I'm not sure exactly where that is. Let's see where that one is. Texas is a big state, so see, I don't even know. I'd have to look this one up. This is kind of embarrassing, but Texas is big. I'm not sure where Mercedes, Texas is, but apparently there are a lot of people. And then you can see there's like sponsored ads and stuff. You can kind of glaze over those. Highland Park ISD is in Dallas, so that's really close to me. Lovejoy ISD, that's it says Allen, but usually Allen, McKinney, and parts of Lucas will all come together and form Lovejoy ISD. So that one's actually really close to where I live in Texas, in Dallas. And then Capel ISD is just on the other side, really close to the international airport, great city, and they also have really great schools there as well. So as you can see, you can go through Frisco, Grapevine, Colleyville, like those are all in the Dallas area. So if you're trying to figure out where in Texas to live and which part of Texas has the best schools, a good majority of them are actually in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So just because I know all of these cities and these school districts. So let me stop sharing now, Paul, I want you to talk a little bit. We'll look for schools in Florida because you can do it by state, FLORIDA.
You like Palm Beach County?
We'll just look in Florida and then you can kind of tell us. So the best school in Florida is saying it's St. John's. Where is that? It says St. Augustine.
St. Augustine. So that's up there near Georgia, like the very far right corner.
Okay. And then
Florida.
Okay. And then Sarasota County Schools is the next
over on West Coast. That's down there below Tampa.
Below Tampa.
Right on the west coast of Florida.
Okay. Number 3 is Okaloosa. Did I say that right?
Fort Walton Beach. That's going to be close to the long part of Florida where it curves off like that, way up toward the Panhandle.
Okay.
I think that's where Fort Walton is. I've never been to that part of Florida. That's
okay.
like a 7-hour drive to that part of Florida. So.
Okay. And then we got Seminole County, which is close to Sanford.
Yeah, I think that's over towards the west. And then Martin County. So Martin County is the closest. Martin County is northwest. That's Stewart. So that's about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half drive north of where I live.
Okay.
So I live in central Palm Beach County.
Okay. And then you got Naples, it looks like. Well, I mean, we could essentially keep going and going. And then the other cool thing is that it'll tell you, like, if you click on this one, so Clay County School District, it says number 7. It kind of gives you an idea. See, there's St. Augustine.
Yeah.
There's Gainesville. You can see like cities that are close by. And then it will also, if we scroll down a little bit further, let you know. See, it's ranked number 4 out of 67 schools. So Florida, as a state, has 67 other school districts within the state. So you can even comparatively. Now, if we go to, what's the other one you do in your direct area?
Palm Beach County.
Okay, so if we look at Palm Beach County. Okay, so Palm Beach County.
I think overall Florida ranked like 22.
Mm-hmm. So within Palm Beach County, we can see that the best is American Heritage School in Boca.
Right. Those are going to be private schools.
Mm-hmm. St. Andrew's School, is that another private? Yes, it's private school right there.
In Palm Beach County, down in Boca, Delray Beach, Jupiter, a lot of places there's a lot of private schools, which is an option for someone if they have the means to do that. There's a lot of really good private schools down here. And
then this is the first public school listed, and it says
that's public high school. That one. Yeah, that's part of Florida Atlantic University. I guess that must be something they done. I haven't heard of that one.
They may do some like co-op to where you can take college courses in that school too. So they may do a little bit of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like charter schools and different kind of co-op schools around here.
And then you got Suncoast Community, which that's a high school. So it looks like and this is School of the Arts. So it looks like it's
arts. Yeah, that's I've had a lot of friends who their kids went there. So dance, music, and all that.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like you can kind of get a pretty good idea of the area and schools just by taking a look at niche.com. There's another one that I like to use called greatschools.org. it's not as good as niche.com because the greatschools.org, I think, really heavily relies on the testing data, which if you're wanting to use that as, part of how you look at schools, that's important. But I would say that as a whole, if you're looking to move to any area, whether it's Texas or Florida or wherever, you need to really, go visit the school before you buy a house in the neighborhood, right? That's just kind of number one. And meet the principal, meet some of the teachers, take your kid with you if that's important for them to kind of get acclimated with the area and what it's going to be like. So that way they're not as petrified, especially if they're a high schooler, if they're just starting high school and you just moved to a new state. It can be very hard and difficult for them. So trying to make that transition, I think, for kids is important.
Oh, for sure. When I've had one from Tennessee and one from Texas that moved down here, but they did a lot of the research before, so they kind of they'll tell me, hey, we want this particular school district, which one of the ones we wanted is where we're in right now and where my son goes to school. So but they'll do that. But that's a good website that you brought up. I didn't know about that, so that's a really good one. So I'll be using that.
Yeah, I really.
Point Texas.
Do what?
Point Texas for that good tip. I guess you get a point there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think when I was looking at this other article that I read, Florida was actually on the national scale. Florida ranked 22nd and Texas was not too far behind in 28th. So from a national perspective, now it did, the article was from wallethub.com, which is a really great resource when you're trying to move. They have a lot of great data, a lot of great information on that website. But this particular article was taking the information from wallethub.com, and what they did is they ranked it based on safety, test scores, and the test scores were all like SAT, ACT type stuff.
Right.
So, take it as, I didn't test too great on the SAT or ACT and I turned out okay. So, with a lot of this data, some of it you have to take with a grain of salt, but I think knowing, where a certain, your state ranks or your school ranks, I think it kind of makes you feel, I guess, maybe a little bit better about the move and what you're getting yourself into as well.
It is. And a lot of the people that we get, a lot of the people who move to Florida, at least my part, come from the Northeast. So they're used to some very good public schools up in the Northeast. So they will, quite often, a lot of people, they're moving down here because the kids are going into college already. We still get people moving down with young kids, but they'll compare it to that. So I always tell them, do your research, find out which school is the best for you. And that's why you see a lot of the private schools as well. So some of the people decide, well, we'll just go and put them in private school. So it just depends on what they want to do. Right.
And we have some private schools here as well that people, if they want that, some people just want like their child to want religion to be a part of their curricula. So if, they need that, religion class, whether, I've seen a lot of, like Catholic schools are really, pretty prominent here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So people intentionally wanting their children to have a Catholic school education just because they want that faith-based aspect, or even they want maybe a Christian, because I've seen a lot of Christian K through 12 schools as well that are offered here in the Bible Belt here in Texas.
But, very true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Now, all of the links and all of everything that we were talking about in relation to schools is going to actually be in the description below. So make sure that when you're done with this video, you can go back and take a look at some of the resources that we're talking about here in the video. Now, the next thing we're going to hit on is property taxes, which is always fun. But before we talk about property taxes, we have to talk about the fact that Texas and Florida, we don't have any state income tax.
State income tax.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I would hate to be taxed again. It's just like, oh, I already feel like I'm taxed too much. But yeah, so no state income tax if you're moving to Texas or Florida, which is a big, huge pay raise if you're used to paying that already. And as far as taxes go here in Texas, we're right around, I think moneywizard.com, because I was looking at that one, said that we were right around on average. Now, you have to take averages with a grain of salt as well, because there are some parts of Texas that can be as high as 3% property taxes and up, and then other parts that will be as low as the average or under the average too. So I think the average for moneywizard.com, and I'll kind of show you a map. This was kind of a cool little study that they did, but they had Texas rate the property tax rate on average rating about 1.83, which is pretty low. Now for Dallas, the Dallas metro area, which is where I live and breathe and reside, that area is probably closer to 2.1, 2.2 in some places. And then if you live in a mud, a PID, or a PUD, and if you're not familiar with that, those are extra taxes for newer communities usually that you have to pay in addition to your property taxes every year. So having that extra money aside for that. But what are you seeing in Florida as a result of your property taxes?
Yes, the average, like right here, where it's like 1.118%.
Okay.
So your assessed value on that property down here. So I think nationally, we're a little lower, but Palm Beach County is a little higher than other parts of Florida.
Okay. So Palm Beach County is lower than other parts of Florida?
Palm Beach County is a little higher than other parts
higher.
of Florida.
Okay.
But Florida in general is a little bit lower than
the rest of
than the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm. And also too, just as far as all of these property tax numbers are concerned, you want to make sure that they change annually. So it's not a set in stone number that you're going to be getting from us. We just want to kind of give you an idea as to what you can expect if you were to move here in regards to property taxes. So that way you're not caught off guard. If you're used to like 0.5% property tax and you move here and it's 2%, it's a big difference. So just making sure that you're aware of all the taxes, whether that be if you're in a mud pit or PUD, those extra additional taxes that you're aware of, and then also what you can expect. And usually your lender and your title company will be able to share that information with you once you get closer to closing and give you more exact and precise numbers. So just keep all that in mind. And I know that Paul's going to have some links, right? You're going to have some links to information about taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have.
It has a really good website. And it talks about like homesteading. So if you homestead your property, if you live in the state of Florida and it's your primary residence, you can homestead it. So you can get some deductions off that, which will take off the assessed value. So it can save you quite a bit of money on your property taxes. Yeah. Anytime you can save money on your taxes is a good thing.
Yes. You don't want to give it to somebody else. All right. So the next little piece we're going to talk about are jobs and the job market. This is a very popular question that I get asked a lot. So when people are moving to the area, the first thing they need to figure out is the job, right? So whether that be at one of the universities or in healthcare or at one of the tech companies here in Dallas, like I kind of have to have, be a little bit knowledgeable about where they're located and let people know what's available too. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the unemployment rate, since that's just such a big kind of political thing going on right now with the debate coming up and everything.
She brought up the B word.
All right. So as far as jobs go, there it is. The United States. So as a nation, we're right at 10.2%, and that's as of July 2021. So I was getting that when I did some of my research. And then as far as Texas goes, and this is as of September 2020, so just last month, Texas was at 6.8%, which I thought was really, really, really good. I think we were a little bit lower than that, obviously, before the pandemic hit and things started to go a little crazy. But I'm going to have links to the article where I found that information for sure. But as far as the job market in general and where a lot of people are moving to because Texas is such a great place for businesses. A lot of businesses are moving here, not only to Dallas, but yeah, like I was looking at there's an article that Forbes wrote, and they put Austin, Round Rock, and San Marcos as like the big area that a lot of businesses are moving. And then Houston was number 3. Houston, Sugar Land, Baytown, that was number 3 as far as best place to move. And then you've got San Antonio, New Braunfels, which was number 4. And then the 5th was Dallas, Plano, and Irving. And there are a lot of tech jobs here in Dallas. And then you have Elon Musk that's moving to the Austin area. That was kind of a big deal, and people made a big deal about that.
Did Jeremy find his house?
Did Jeremy find it? Yeah. I don't know if Jeremy found Elon Musk a house. I'm sure he'll chime in maybe about that a little bit later. But yeah, the job market is really booming here. And also too, since Texas is a big oil, producing state, the oil industry here, we get a lot of business and jobs that are created as just a natural result of that too. But why don't you talk a little bit about the Florida market for us?
So interesting you're talking about, currently the unemployment rate here is at 7.6 as of September. But Florida is a big tourist state, and a lot of our economy and the businesses and the jobs down here are tourist related. So Disney just had huge layoffs. The hotels, because of COVID, were hurting. The cruise lines, which are all based out of South Florida, thousands and thousands of jobs. So that, COVID definitely put a number on, did a number to Florida because of that. The theme parks, the resorts, just everything. I mean, it is a destination, state. We did just recently get, I think, 6 out of 10 of the best retirement places, though, in the country. We had 6 of the best cities out of 10 or something like that, or a U.S. News report I saw the other day. So we had some of the best places to retire. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because so many of the people who do move here are looking to retire here. And so the job market's not something that, quite honestly, they come here and they become a realtor. There's so many realtors here because they get bored. They play so much golf and become a realtor. So don't do that, please. Don't. We have enough. But the tourism took a pretty hard hit, and then just the restaurants and in general. But that's everywhere, the restaurants across the country. So. But there's, once that gets back, there are some big companies, obviously, and then healthcare. There's some, Palm Beach County has a lot of healthcare. Boca, I think, was it Tenet Hospital was like the one of the largest, and I know I think they're out of Dallas, but Tenet hospitals are down here. And then there's a lot of agricultural stuff like Florida Crystals, but also there's Sikorsky Aircraft is a big employer out here. I know that they have a place out there, so they do a lot with the helicopters. Then U.S. Sugar, Tyco, Pratt & Whitney, that's the other one I was thinking of. So there are some big companies, but, Palm Beach County, I would say like some of the hospitals, Office Depot is headquartered down here.
Oh, okay, Office Depot, that's cool.
But yeah, the unemployment is a little bit higher than Texas. And I think obviously a lot of that has to do with that. So much of our economy is, from tourism. Yeah,
the tourism. I would think once that kind of gets back on track, the numbers will show improvement for sure.
Right, 100%. And then I was just having dinner the other night. My wife and I were out having dinner, and they said that a lot of people that are second homeowners down here, a lot of Canadians, I guess, and I don't know to the exact extent. The waiter was saying was something about their health care that they have and traveling. It doesn't cover COVID, so a lot of Canadians might not be coming down to Florida for what we call our snowbird season. So that's going to affect.
Oh, it's going to drastically affect the economy there. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And with people not driving as much too. So like Texas has a lot of money invested in gas, oil and gas, just because that's one of the things that we produce here. And because people aren't driving as much, right? And that was really towards the beginning. Like gas prices were just like ridiculously low just because they wanted to get some sort of business from the oil and gas, like because nobody was going to fill up their car because they didn't travel anywhere.
And we both of us are in really big states. I mean, like I said, I grew up in Texas. I know how long it used to take to get from San Antonio to Dallas. And when you're asking about Fort Walton, I mean, I the only time I'm ever in that part of Florida is when I'm leaving Florida to go to Texas if I drive. And I've done that many years. I'd rather get on a plane now than make that drive to Houston. But But you do need a car in South Florida. I will tell you, there's not a lot of public transportation. Yeah, so if you're living in Palm Beach counties, you have to have a car down here.
Okay. Some of the areas of Dallas and some of the suburbs have public transit here, but it's not near as like seamless as like DC or parts of Manhattan and where you can just walk everywhere. Like the walkability score is pretty low in most places, but they are trying to do these like master plan communities to where, you have everything kind of in one specific area. That's kind of there's been a big shift real estate wise towards that kind of development here. So that way we can improve some of the walkability and we're not taxed for trying to get the DART system, which is the Dallas Area Rapid Transit, to one of the outlying suburbs because it's going to cost, taxpayer money towards that. So people are getting creative when it comes to spending, even just the tax money for that. But let's jump into the weather. This is going to be fun. I'll let you start this one because you have some pretty interesting weather there.
The weather is a lot. Like Texas, give it 15 minutes and it'll change on you. So you get a lot of rain in the summer, we're in the tropics. So, but it'll rain, it'll look like the end of the world, and then 15 minutes later, the sun's shining. But it'll still be humid, real humid.
Real humid.
So, it's, thank goodness for air conditioning because South Florida is hot and humid, just like, Texas is hot. But we're slowly, like right now, I'm looking outside and there's actually a breeze. It actually looks like if I could put the camera, it kind of looks like that fall winter day you kind of get in Texas where the skies are a little gray and it's windy, but cloudy. The problem is it's not 60 or 50 degrees out. Like when you get a cold front, it's still probably like 80 degrees out. But it's a little bit of a breeze coming in. But, and as you can see how I'm dressed, I mean, it's, I gave up the suit and tie and all that. And it's just too hot here in South Florida to be showing, homes wearing a suit. And my clients didn't like it anyway. They said you look much more comfortable like that. So, but the weather's nice. The January through May is what I call our paradise like season. And it just gets really nice out. And the humidity kind of fades away. It's 70s, 80s during the day, a little cooler at night. It's still odd to be wearing shorts and flip-flops on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, it took a while for me to get used to Christmas morning. It's like, it's hot outside.
Yeah.
So, but and then the downside, sorry, I'm going to tickle my throat, apologize.
Yeah, okay.
The downside is that we are in the hurricane alley. So,
Hurricane alley.
I'm going to knock on woods. We've been really fortunate. Nothing's really affected us this year. Last year we had a little bit of a scare. It's just something you have to be prepared. It's probably the biggest question I get from clients looking to move here. You got to be prepared and think about it. And when you're house shopping, if you have impact windows, that's great. If you have hurricane shutters, the least favorable is putting up plywood, which is a real pain. And I've done it. It's not fun, but luckily now I got shutters and panels. It's much easier. But so hurricanes are always a factor, and then not too much. It just depends on where flooding can be an issue, depending on what parts of. Like I'm talking about Palm Beach County. There's some outskirts towards the Everglades, I guess, and places that can flood and stuff. So it's important to look at that when you're buying a house. Is it in a flood zone?
What about like flood insurance? I mean, what does your insurance cover? Like if a hurricane comes through and your house is demolished, I mean, do you find that your the insurance is pretty high as a result of the
Yeah,
added risk
homeowner
of
insurance in
hurricanes.
Florida is pretty expensive, especially if they're citizens is only like you can't even get insurance for most parts if the roof's over 15 years old. You can get put off to like one insurance. Citizens, from what I understand, be the one who covers that. I was just talking to an insurance agent the other day. Anything close to the ocean, the closer you get to the east, where the winds are going to be stronger, is always something that they're going to be looking at. Roof inspections are a huge thing. You know, when you're buying a house down here, and you know whether it's shingle or concrete barrel top, and the age of the roof and all that. Yeah. So I think that shocks a lot of people. They'll get a quote. The mortgage lender will say, "Well, your insurance is probably stuff around here," and especially if the lender who's not used to being in Florida, if they from say out of state, and then they get the quotes of the insurance. So it's always good to look into that, and especially where you're living. If you're going to want to live on the beach, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
But the beaches are beautiful.
Yeah. But the good thing is you're on the beach.
You're on the beach. You're on the beach. So just
you're paying for it, but you're on the beach.
You sit there and go this way, hurricane. Go this way. Go out to the sea.
Right. And I'm sure people have like evacuation plans if they feel like it's going to be too unsafe to just hang out there and ride out the storm. They probably have family or friends they could drive to or stay with as the hurricane passes or that kind of thing.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when the hurricanes were real bad, 02, I think it was 02, 03, somewhere around 03. We did the leave and go across to Tampa. Took the dog. It looked like one of those movies where all the cars are on the highway trying to get away before the meteor hits. Like that.
Yeah, and you're going the opposite way.
and everything was like bumper to bumper. And of course, the car was overheating. The dog was barking. And then we get to Tampa, and the report is that the hurricane was coming straight for Tampa. So we turned around and drove all the way back and just bunkered down anyway. It was like, there's just no point. When they're coming for you, they're coming just get your supplies.
Yeah,
be safe. Yeah, there are a lot of any of the things on the barrier islands, a lot of the homes, they will put a mandatory
evacuation.
Strong enough. Yeah, they're just going to tell you. I mean, they have people every year who won't leave. And they ride it out. So it's like, more power to you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's pretty common. So in Texas, if you live by the coast, if you're in the Gulf Coast, they experience hurricanes as well. So it's not going to be if you live down there. Now, if you're in more of the north, east section of Dallas, of Texas, closer to Dallas, you're not going to get, a hurricane. You may get remnants of the storm as the storm progresses north, but you're not going to get anything near as severe. Like I know Houston was hit pretty hard, but Houston's situated really close to the coast. So it makes sense that Houston would get hit.
Yeah, the city was built on swamp, which a lot of South Florida was too. So.
Right. And I'm sure that parts of Houston are below sea level, and that's a factor in that piece of it as well. And then, you've got parts of, Galveston, the 1900 hurricane is like the famous one that hit over there, completely demolished that. But I'm sure that there are plenty of like warnings and evacuations that go with that particular weather, which kind of brings me here to like, for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, since we're in the north part, we're in that sweet spot, right, for tornadoes. We're in Tornado Alley. Yeah, so
scare me a whole lot more.
Yeah, so we do have, quite a few tornadoes that come through Dallas. The most recent one that was, I guess, pretty devastating that hit parts of like Highland Park and that particular area, that one, there were no fatalities. And, even though, we had a lot of damage and destruction, everybody was safe. So the weather station does a phenomenal job of, all the warnings, and springtime is usually the heightened season for the severe weather. Even some of the storms that don't have a tornado, the winds that blow through are strong enough, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, they'll knock over your fence. And I mean, you think, man, a tornado just came through. And it was like, no, it was just the really strong winds when that cold front came through and switched the air, you know, from hot to cold or cold to hot or whatever it was.
Plus, you guys get the flash flooding, which is really bad, especially in the hill. Well, maybe not in Dallas, but in the hill
not so much in Dallas. Usually the heavy like flash flooding is in other parts. And anywhere that I've lived, I haven't really dealt with a whole lot of flash flooding. I'd say the flooding's probably closer.
San Antonio, places like that.
Yeah, maybe some of the hill country in the lower elevated areas, or if they're not expecting something and there's like a pop-up storm, that kind of thing. Now, if you live in West Texas, so if you live in West Texas, it's like a desert over there, right? So they're not going to be seeing a whole lot of severe weather. They're not going to be seeing thunderstorms, or, I mean, if they see a thunderstorm, it's like one of those, it's very similar climate to New Mexico. So New Mexico's really, you know, you can see like the thunderstorm in the distance, you know, thunderclouds of the rain and stuff. It's really kind of pretty. All the tumbleweeds. Now, there are tornadoes that have hit Lubbock, which is just east of El Paso and that kind of area too. So sometimes severe weather can strike there. But I would say, like, for the most part, it's really hot, dry heat. So it's like an oven heat is kind of the best way to explain it. So if you were to step into an oven, it's that dry heat. It's not going to be humid heat. Now, if you get closer to the coast, the closer you get to the coast, and I only know this because I went to college in Bryan College Station, Texas A&M. That's my alma mater. That's where I went to school. But we were pretty close to Austin, and I felt like my hair was just like, because I have kind of a slight, it just got so frizzy, and some days in the summer, not all days, but some of the days in the summer were just miserable. I was like, where's the air conditioning? I want to come inside. I feel like my hair's gonna, you know.
I lived in Houston for a year.
Grow up.
Yeah.
And in Houston, it's even worse because you're even closer to the coast.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, just depending on where you live and settle.
Both of them are things that both of them are scary things that people obviously have to think about, because we've seen the devastation from it. I think the biggest thing is that yours happens in a matter of minutes, and mine is like a slow rolling boulder. It's like you're so sick of hearing the reporters talk about it by the time it hits, but you know it's coming for literally a week.
Well, and then the same could be true for the tornadoes, because they've gotten really good at like, oh, this could be a tornado. Oh, this could be and you're like seeing like the predicted trajectory of the
radar
of the tornado. I mean, that's how good they've gotten. And you're just like, well, that completely missed us or whatnot. So I mean, they've gotten really good. Let's just say the weather forecasters have gotten excellent. And now, as far as we do see some snow, it's pretty rare here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but I would say more of the Panhandle, closer to Oklahoma and the Red River, you're going to see more snow up there. The Panhandle close to, what is the name of that city?
Texarkana?
No, that's more Arkansas. Well, I guess further north, you could still have a better chance of snow there, but anything I'd say north of Dallas is going to have a good chance of snow, but it's not like, it's like, you know, 2 snows a winter. It's not like this blizzard, or we do get some ice though. Occasionally the roads can get really bad with ice, and if we're not prepared with TxDOT and the roads and stuff, you can see a lot of accidents and stuff as a result of that. But like I said, they're always really good. When it ices, you just don't go out. A lot of things shut down when it ices. Or even snows sometimes, just because we're not as winter weather prepared as our neighbors to the north. So
that's we say the same about when it rains here, and do not. And if you do move to Texas, Florida, and you're down here, whether you're on vacation or you decide to move here and you get caught in a rainstorm, do not put on your flashers. It's actually against the law. You're not supposed to. But they do it all the time. They have their flashers. You're not supposed to do that. Just drive slow. Keep your distance. You'll get through the rain. But it's funny, everyone hits their flashers, and it's like everyone's like hates it. But the last thing I'd say about the weather here is it's funny is that when it drops below 70, Floridians pull out their winter gear, and it is so funny. I mean, I'm talking women in fur coats and Boca. It's 65, and you see people, and it's so funny. It's all the Northerners are like, what is wrong with you people? When you're in flip-flops and shorts 98% of the time and it gets cool out, so the weather's not good.
Yeah, the weather's good there. Yeah. The weather's good here too, for the most part. I mean, like right now, it's really nice. Well, it's kind of hot right now. We've got 80-degree high today, but like the next couple of days, I think they're forecasting cooler weather. So that'll be like, 70, 60, and it feels really nice outside. And you can go biking and jogging and just go outside. It's great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, lots of outdoor stuff. We'll go. I think we've covered
weather really good. So let's hit into our next.
We know the weather. What was next? What are we doing next?
Culture is the next one.
Culture.
You want to start that one, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
All right. So culture in Dallas, we're kind of a melting pot. We've got just about every kind of race, creed, color, culture that you can think of has moved here. I would say Dallas is probably, I don't know, Austin might give us kind of a run for the money, but I would say that Dallas is very diverse compared to most other parts of the nation. I mean, I have, friends and family members that have moved here, from other countries. There was one couple in particular, that I know that they're from Puerto Rico. And anytime they find someone else that's from Puerto Rico, they're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're from Puerto Rico. And they just, they form these little groups, and they get to talk together and still kind of preserve their culture, still within Dallas, which is really cool to see. And then, obviously you get all the interesting, like, festivities and, sometimes cultural dances and stuff that will come as a result. I know that when we have the State Fair of Texas, they usually have a lot of cultural dances that they'll perform, down and around International Boulevard. So they'll have, all types of, cultural things, cultural foods. That's just at the State Fair. But I would say that most of DFW, you can get good any kind of food, essentially. I mean, there's great sushi places. There's Korean barbecue. That's really great.
Yeah,
I know.
That's one of my favorites.
Tex-Mex is kind of a staple here, for the most part. So we have a lot of Tex-Mex places, which is kind of a mixture. It's like a mixed culture. So it's like the tacos are a big thing, and the cheese dips and all that kind of stuff are kind of big here in Texas. Barbecue as well. You can get some great barbecue. You can find some great recipes. You can try it out. There's chili actually originated here in Texas too. So you can get
chili cook-offs.
A lot of chili cook-offs, people getting together as a result of that. Texas is a big football culture. I'm making you homesick, of course. But so football here is really big. It's kind of a part of the culture too. So regardless of whether you like sports or not, people are going to invite you to a Super Bowl party, even if the Cowboys or the Texans, if they're not playing, they'll still go hang out and watch the game. College sports is a big deal. We have, so we've got the Texas A&M, we've got University of Texas, Texas Tech, SMU is the one that's, I guess, the big campus here in the Dallas area. But I mean, we got several universities, and several of them that are very competitive when it comes to sports. Very, very competitive, even on the high school level, and on some of the big stadiums that they'll spend millions of dollars on these stadiums. It's kind of crazy to see that culture, evolve and develop. And then you have the band people being like, why is all this money going to the football program? Well, it's a part of the culture. So
I was in band. I was a drummer, and trust me, they weren't there to see us. As much as we wouldn't believe that, that's not what's putting the people in seats. Not in Texas. So.
Yeah, not in Texas. It's a big deal here. That's why I think a lot of the big recruits come from Texas. Well, it's a big state too. So that's what makes it all the more competitive. So if you're like number one in Texas, it's a bigger deal than number one in Oklahoma, because you're not competing against as many people for that number one coveted spot. So I think that's a part of it too.
Oklahoma take all our players. Well, all your players.
Yeah. So tell us about the culture there in Florida. What is it like there?
Florida's a melting pot. I mean, we have so many people from all over the world because it's such a tourist destination. And I mean, I mentioned earlier about a lot of the Canadians having second homes here. There's a lot of people from England, Germany, all over the world. Obviously, the islands are very close to us: the Bahamas, Jamaica, South America. Obviously, Miami, a huge influence there. It's a melting pot of everywhere, because there's just so many international people who come here, whether it's just a vacation, or they end up finding that they love it and they decide to buy here. So, food, there's obviously just anything and everything you can really want to look at, especially you get down to places, you get down to Miami, and there's all sorts of restaurants. And then in Palm Beach County, there's a ton of different restaurants. Seafood's big, obviously. Matter of fact, I've got fresh seafood in the fridge because my wife went out with her dad this morning, and they're doing a little daughter dad time, and she brought home some fresh snapper and some fresh dolphin. So and no, not flipper. It's a dolphin that you can eat. We don't eat the porpoise. And and then the events and festivals, the same. A lot of different cultures and festivities to go down and check out and get involved in. A lot of outdoor markets. As when the weather gets nice out, we get all these outdoor markets and
farmers markets. Yeah,
those are
really nice.
big. Obviously, sports is obviously a big thing. I mean, we got the Miami Dolphins. You got the basketball, you got baseball, the Marlins down there, you got the Heat. And then here, well, you got University of Miami, which is obviously south. Miami's like about an hour and a half away, maybe an hour. Depends on traffic. Traffic can get really heavy down there. And then to the north, you got a lot of good universities around here and stuff. But some of the larger ones, obviously, Miami would be south. And then my older son was a graduate of U of F, University of Florida. So go Gators. You have a lot of schools and a lot of sports teams and all that activities. Palm Beach County, we obviously have the facilities for all the baseball teams that come down here and do the spring training. So that's always pretty cool. And they got some two facilities here. So if you want to go if you're into baseball, you can go there and check all that out. And then, if you like golfing, it's golfer's paradise. There's PGA, some of the best golf courses in the world. Depending on what I'm not much of a golfer. I like fishing, so I'm more of a water guy. Yeah. But if you like golf, depending on what your budget is, there's clubs and courses and anything and everything around here. And then fishing and outdoors and scuba diving and getting out, those activities. So, we have 47 miles of just beach right here in Palm Beach County alone. So the beach is never more than, even if you live in one of the cities and the communities out west in Palm Beach County, it's maybe a 30-minute drive to get to the beach, with traffic. But like for me, 15 minutes, I've got it. So so it's close by, so it's nice. But it's really interesting. We obviously get a lot of people from the Northeast because I-95, just comes straight down. So we tend to get a lot of Bostonians and New Yorkers. Yeah. They come down here. Yeah.
Naturally travel and migrate down there.
Yeah. And then they like to tell us that our pizza is not like New York pizza. Yeah. So, but they try. There's some good pizza down here. There's a really good one around the corner. I always tell people to go to. So it's a really neat place. I mean, I've been here 28 years, and although I did love living in Texas, it's really cool down here. There's a lot of neat stuff to do, and neat people. Yeah, you can just meet people from all over. Yeah, same here. There's some neat people that live here. So we'll kind of segue into our next one, which is family activities. So like if a family's considering moving to either of these states, what are some things that we can do? And you kind of already talked about the beach there. We have the beach here if you live closer to the coast. So if you're, I know that
like we have, I know that people don't think that Texas beaches are beautiful, but there's some really nice ones over in Port Aransas that I'm going to kind of share a quick picture.
The national park is beautiful down there. We used to go there all the time.
So this is Port Aransas. This is part of Mustang Island. It's one of the islands that's just off the Texas Gulf Coast. And this is where I guess the sandiest beaches are. Particularly, sometimes the coastline can get more rugged or more muddy just because of the geography. And then this is this is also Port Aransas. I've been here a couple of times with my family, but it's a really beautiful place to just kind of relax and kick back. And it's almost like a staycation because you stay within your state, even though it's like 3 or 4 hours,
Oh yeah,
5 hours from Dallas. It's a pretty big trek.
Beautiful though.
There, but yeah, it can be really pretty. And then there are also parts of Big Bend National Park. So if you're a really big hiker or even mountain biker, just I guess this is more of where the Guadalupe River kind of runs on the bottom edge or bottom border of Texas. Maybe see if I can. So like right where Texas and Mexico, you can't really see it there.
Yeah.
But where Texas and Mexico kind of meet, where that river is, you're going to start to see these really pretty canyons and basins. And I mean, it's just really, you can go hiking there and biking. And I mean, just a lot of beautiful nature around that particular area. And so that Big Bend is actually kind of at I don't know, kind of like the more of the mountains. I wish I had a picture of the geography. Maybe if I find it, I'll pull it up later. But the geography, the geography here is really diverse. Once you start getting closer to East Texas, you can start to see a lot of the piney woods, and it can get really nice and beautiful there. And then you've got the hill country, which is like parts of San Antonio and Austin, which are just gorgeous and beautiful. Tons of things to do there with your family. And then even here in Dallas, even though we're mostly flat and we don't have the beautiful pine trees just yet, because that's a little further east, there are lots of things to do with your family. We've got the pumpkin patches and the festivals and festivities and activities that you would have in any other community, really. I'm trying to think of something else that I was.
Six Flags.
Oh yeah, the Six Flags over Texas, which is a theme park, really similar to Busch Gardens. So if you're from up north, Busch Gardens is like a really popular. To me, it's also similar to Disney World and Land in a way. It's not the same. I'm just saying that it's like it's got cool rides and it's a theme park, right?
I went there all the time.
Also, we have the Gaylord Texan, which is just in that Grapevine area, which is right in between Dallas and Fort Worth. And they always have like an ice sculpture exhibit right around the holidays that you can go to. There's a vintage railroad station that travels in between Dallas and Fort Worth that'll take you to the Fort Worth stockyards that are over there. And around the holiday season, they actually have Polar Express themed rides to where you go in your pajamas, and then they have, songs from the movie and stuff that are playing, and they serve you hot chocolate. And it's really kind of cool for kids to take their own little Polar Express adventure. Yeah. As a family, it's kind of a neat thing. And then always it seems like every city has their own Christmas lighting, like tree. They'll have a big tree that's lit at a certain time in a certain place. I'm sure it's not as glorious and fabulous as the ones they have in New York, because that's probably where that tradition probably originated, I'm sure. But still, it's a great, outing with the family. They always have like these little Santa's Wonderland things right around the holidays too, where they'll have like this drive-through where you drive through all these lights that light up and do different things, and that's pretty cool too. And you can pay like per car to drive and take your family in there. And then in the, I guess the spring, I mean, because of COVID, like biking has been a huge thing to do with my family. So we'll go out and we'll bike around our neighborhood, and we'll bike to Sonic and have like a little slush, you know, which the kids are just excited about, because they're like, oh my gosh, so this is so cool. But just, you know, there's a lot of play areas and public, you know, aquatic centers and that kind of thing here. And then also the lakes. Dallas does have quite a few lakes that are close by that you can take part in. Now, are they the cleanest? Probably not. But at the same time, it's still nice to get out and about, and you can take, you know, they offer tours and stuff, and you can rent a boat and just have a fun day with your family out on the lake, go fishing. Yes, thank you. So there are tons of things to do. And there's a lot of, you know, natural beauty within the state as a result of its diverse geography. But why don't you go ahead, and I'm going to look for that particular picture that I was looking for. And then I'll let you start on Florida and what fun family things that they can do there.
So looking forward to this part. This is probably my favorite things to talk to people about. So, you know, my tagline is enjoy paradise. Mm-hmm. And that is how I feel about Florida, because there is so much to do if you're an outdoor person. Even if you're an indoor person and stuff, they have some really great museums and just really cool places to go to. But if the outdoors is your thing, and I mean, getting out there and bike riding, it is literally endless. I mean, just in Palm Beach County alone, we have some amazing bike trails that you can go on. One of them is up on the island of Palm Beach, and it goes right along. It's called the Lake Trail, and I think it's about a 3-mile bike ride, and it goes along the Intercoastal Waterway. So on the left, you're seeing yachts and blue water and West Palm Beach and all these boats going by, and on the right, you're literally right going past the backyard of multi-million-dollar mansions. And it's just, which I don't know how they allow them to do that, but apparently the city said we're going to do it. Yeah. But it's really neat. So you have that, and then fishing, diving, surfing, sailing, water, you name
all
it.
The water stuff.
The water, the fishing. I used to kayak fish myself a lot. Like I said, my wife went fishing today with my father-in-law. You know, if you're into diving, the water activities are just there for whatever you're into. My youngest is like, you know, trying to get into surfing now. So, which, you know, obviously I still get a little nervous, but you know, it's pretty cool. But then just, you know, for Palm Beach County, you're an hour and a half, say, traffic to the tolls, and you're at Disney. You're in Orlando, and you've got Epcot and Disney and Magic Kingdom and Universal Studios. So, you know, and I've been here 28 years, and I still haven't been to it all up there. There's so many things that, you know, we want. My son just asked, hey, can we go back up there? We want to see the Star Wars thing that they have now. So, you know, after a certain age, Disney isn't for kids anymore. It's like for little kids and stuff, unless you want to go back as parents. But there's so much to do there. And then another hour, 2 hours south, and you can be in the Florida Keys, and you can literally just be in this oasis down there, and, you know, in a hotel and crystal, you know, aqua colored water, and just chill out and hang out. So lots of fun activities. There's lots of events that go on, you know, again, take COVID out of the picture. Lots of great outdoor concerts. We get our fair share of the major acts that come through here to Palm Beach County. Then I mentioned earlier, you got your sporting events. There's just lots of really neat places, parks, nature parks galore. One of the things we loved when Austin was little was going to all the nature parks that are here, and so many of them are free. There's so many trails that you just go on, and you're, you know, and you're seeing, you know, alligators and birds and all these beautiful birds that come down here from the winter and come down here for the winter time. It's really a magical place. It's really fun. I mean, if you like taking pictures, it's really a great place, because you can grab a camera, and almost any time of the day somewhere you're going to see something that you want to get a photo of nature-wise. And sunsets. The sunsets here are pretty spectacular, especially in the wintertime. So it's just a really, really, really pretty place.
man. There we go. We're back.
Yeah, I lost you.
I know. So I wanted to
You're thinking
share.
about Florida because I told you how good it is, aren't you? That's
Oh man, that does sound really nice. Although I'm not a big fan of the alligators. I'm sure some of you.
themselves. Just don't swim in fresh water. That's
Okay.
If it's fresh water, you don't swim in it in Florida. That's salt water,
You're okay. There's no salt water. There's no saltwater crocodiles.
No, there's no saltwater crocodiles. Not here.
Not there. Okay. All right. I think this is what I want to share. So I just wanted to share kind of you've got over by Houston, you have the Gulf Coast and everything that goes with that type of particular climate. And you've got the piney woods over here, just east of Dallas. You can see Dallas is this little dot right here. And then, so Dallas is in more of the prairies and the lakes, which makes sense why you have so many different lakes and flat areas there. And then Austin and San Antonio are right by the hill country, which is kind of in the middle of Texas. And then to its west, you have the Big Bend country. So this is where I was showing you that picture of the mountains and the basins and what people think of Texas when they think of the wild, wild west. They think of the Big Bend country. And then you have El Paso, which is right here on the tip. But there are some mountain ranges actually in the Big Bend country. And then, obviously north where the Panhandle is, that's where we get a lot more snow and it's just flat. I mean, you drive and it's flat. It's kind of reminds me of driving through New Mexico when I drive to California, or I'm driving up to Colorado and I have to go to New Mexico. That's what it reminds me of the most. So,
Never made it that part of Texas.
Do what?
I never made it. I don't think I ever really went in all the places. I never made it north of Dallas. I think maybe we drove through when I was a kid.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely more flat up there.
Yeah, it is. Most of it is flat, but once you get further south in the hill country, it can get really, really pretty. Like I've driven around San Antonio and Austin, and it's really, really nice, which is probably why so many people want to live there and why housing prices have gone up so much in that particular area and why so many companies are wanting to move there too. So, so that all of that kind of lines up and makes sense to me. So let's go and move on to our next little topic, which is affordability, which is what a lot of people want to know about when they move to a certain area. How much can I get for my money? What is it going to cost me when it comes to affordability? So I'll go ahead and I'll let you go ahead and start for affordability.
So Florida's expensive. A lot of people, I mean, again, that's relative.
Coming from.
But I don't have the number. I apologize, but I think I saw somewhere, looked at the other day. It's like the median price right now is like $363 in Palm Beach County for a single family home. But rents are expensive. It's just a more expensive place to live, and obviously the closer you're going to live to the water. If you want to live by the beach or anything in that area, or even close to the beach, the home prices are just going to cost you a lot more because you're close to the beach, which is the same thing with any place if you live, But
you get the beach.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little sticker shock to a lot of people. And then we have we have a lot of HOAs, which people who aren't used to that, it's very hard to find. It's not hard. There's communities, but most of the communities do have a homeowners association.
Okay.
And the homeowners associations range anywhere from a low of $75 a month to as high as $600 a month, depending on a real high-end luxury community.
Okay.
But averages like in the 300s is something that you're looking at. So you need to take that into account when you're dealing with your lender. You're like, what can I afford, and what's my payment going to be?
Right.
And all that stuff, your insurance and all that. But it's still someone from California selling a house in California could probably look and say, well, that's nothing because San Francisco is like, I don't know, $1.5 million or whatever. I don't know, but so they come here and it's like cash. And we do get a lot of people who come down here. As I said, we do tend to get a lot of retirees or people that are just at that point in their life. So they'll just either get a condo or a townhouse or even a single family home, and they'll pay cash for it and then just have those HOAs. So, different.
What's your median price, do you think? What have you seen, I guess,
Yeah,
in Delray?
I think I looked at the other, it was like 363.
Okay.
63,000. I think that's where it was, median price. Yeah. And you know, homes are the same problem that everyone's having. There's not a lot of properties.
Right.
And if it's a nice property, they're getting multiple offers. They're going pretty quick.
Above list. Yeah.
You know, they go, you know, in that 300, in that 250 to $370,000 price range. If it's a good house, you know, I had a client the other day and they sent me 4 properties, but they were looking at Zillow, the Zillow, and I was sending them stuff from the MLS, and they said, you know, we looked at this, and out of all the ones they looked at Zillow, they were all under contract already, except for the one I said, which was from the multiple listing source. I said, well, that's because my duh. But yeah, they're going quick, and it's maybe slowed a little, but it just depends on where you're looking. And then if you go if you get into the more, you know, the $500,000 and above, it may slow down, maybe not as competitive. But then I think I was telling you before, we had this, you know, earlier, I was talking to some agents who deal with in like luxury communities of like $1 million, $3 million properties, and they said the same thing. Their $1 million plus properties are just flying off the shelf. Like, wow. Which, you know, usually those take a while to be in. Yeah. So, so, you know, we'll see. I have spoke to some lenders that did say some of the homes, like one lender was telling me that he had 5 transactions that the appraisals came back undervalued. So, you know, maybe the people asking to this, but the appraisers are saying, well, no, not really. It's really here, and you can want this, but we're not giving it to you. So whether that means things are all kind of leveling off, and maybe like, hey, these numbers are just so high, and that's
there are other ways. I mean, there are other ways that a client can get their offer accepted. I mean, I know here we'll say, you know, if the property appraises for less, we'll pay at least $3,000 towards, you know, the difference essentially. So, I mean, it's still not, even though the appraisers may appraise it lower, some sellers are still getting what they want.
They are.
But like you said, if it's in the upper ups, you know, same here. If you're in like the $500,000 and up market, if it's a good property, no matter what price it is, and if it's priced right and it's a great, you know, it's going to be gone. So don't twiddle your thumbs and all day, because you're not going to have as much time as you thought. So if it's a good property, it's going to go quick, no matter what kind of market we're in. But I will say that here in the Dallas area, anything above 500,000 is a little bit slower, obviously. Even some of the ones that were in the 4s are getting multiple offers. But when I say multiple offers, they're not going crazy, and they're not saying like 10 or 20,000 above list, which is what we kind of saw probably about 2 years ago, 2 or 3. No, it was probably 3 years, 3 or 4, maybe 4 years. 3 to 4 years ago, the market was super hot here, and we were seeing like $20,000 above list, all guaranteed, you know, appraisal contingency waived pretty much. Now it's hot, but it's not as hot. Buyers have felt like they've been taken advantage of, I think, for so long. And, you know, the ones, if they're offering more, it's like a couple thousand more. Maybe 5,000 more, which in the grand scheme of things is really not a whole lot more money. And depending on, and then I would say, as far as Texas goes, for the median price as a whole, we're cheaper, just because a lot of the areas that are in more remote locations, obviously you can find $100,000 property if you drive an hour to 2 hours away from the major metro area. Absolutely. If you're out in the rural country boonies, right, you can find a good deal still. So, and because Texas is so big, but I was even still surprised at this number. They said that the median price was right around $261,300, and this was recent, information. And this is information that was from the Texas A&M University. Has a research department where they research a lot of these numbers, and they'll have the stats and stuff for the previous month out. every month. Like that's what they kind of give all the title companies, so that we can kind of have an idea. Dallas was right around 319, 800, which doesn't surprise me because the Dallas metro area has been growing more than some of the surrounding areas. San Antonio was right at 251 at the median price, which San Antonio has been more affordable than Dallas anyway. So that didn't surprise me. And then Austin's median price, according to this same data, was right around 347,000, which made sense because Austin's usually more expensive than Dallas. And there are parts of Austin that are, really expensive, and there are parts of Austin that are more affordable. It just depends on where you look and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
But that hopefully will help people get them a general idea of what things are looking like right now.
On a rent, just to throw something out there, if someone's thinking of just trying to get their feet wet and they're thinking, well, before we buy down here, you're probably looking like $2,200 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, depending on where you're at. About $2,200 a month, somewhere there. That I last checked. So that's rents are always more expensive. A lot of people. I had a young guy asked the other day. He's like, I'm looking to come down there. What can I get for $800? And I said,
nothing.
I literally found nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. There was nothing out there. And I looked, I was like,
wow.
So, yeah, he didn't like that. But so, yeah, it does cost a little bit to live in paradise, unfortunately.
Yeah. Which I mean, doesn't completely surprise me. And I'm sure there's more affordability in certain areas of the state, just like there are in Texas. So, whoever's on a budget, they should be able to find some of those things. So I want to kind of, go ahead.
An hour north of here, and it is a lot less expensive. So
yeah.
So keep in mind if you're thinking of looking in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to kind of turn it over to some of the chat and some of the questions. I think the biggest question that someone had was that let's see.
Well, one person said we don't eat dolphins, do we? Like Flipper.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was later down the road. But my friend Denise was asking about the MUD, the PID, and the PUD. And the MUD stands for Municipal Utilities District. The PID is it's also a utilities district, but it's more of a temporary one. And the PUD is kind of the same thing. It's a utilities district. It's pretty much the developer not wanting to pay for the setup of the utilities for the land that they purchased. And so they're putting that cost on the people that are essentially building in those areas. Okay. And that's the extra tax that gets taxed on until it's essentially paid off. But if you're in a MUD district, it may never happen. Whereas if you're in a PID or a PUD, it will eventually kind of over, I want to say the course of maybe 10 or 15 years, it'll drop off and you won't have it anymore. But these are in like new construction communities. They're not usually in existing communities unless the community was newly built and it's already built out. But what about you? Do you have any additional?
Really never that I can think of. I mean,
seen something like that?
Yeah. And if we do, it hasn't come up in any time that I've done a transaction with anybody. So
must be a Texas thing.
I've only done a couple of new construction, so I don't remember. Actually, only done I think 2. So didn't come up the last time. Yeah.
So it may just it probably is just a Texas thing because she lives in Indiana, so she's further out. And then she's like, people eat dolphins, and that was a new thing to me too that you talked about. So tell us a little bit about the dolphin.
Dorado. So I almost said Wado. So Flipper, that's a porpoise. Dolphin is a fish that you can eat. It's very tasty, especially when it's blackened. Dolphin sandwich, grilled or blackened, is probably one of the most popular sandwiches that you'll get, or snapper. And then there's so many good fish sandwiches, but they just call it dolphin. That's what they're called. So it's mahi is another
Oh, yeah, I've heard of mahi before. Okay.
So no, we don't eat flipper.
What about those alligators? You gonna eat some alligators too, or is that only in Louisiana?
Alligator meat's not bad. It's spiced. It's actually pretty tasty in there. And trust me, it's not like they're endangered. There's literally thousands of them. So, and they'll be here when we're gone. But
They'll be here when we're gone.
They've been there because you look at them and it's like a dinosaur. I mean, when you see one at one of the parks, it is like seeing a dinosaur. It's just an incredible creature, and you just give them the respect. You know, don't feed nature. Do not. If you move to Florida, do not feed the wildlife.
Don't feed the
You're hurting wildlife by doing it. So don't feed the wildlife, and in some places it's illegal. Like you can really get in trouble if they see you feeding. Because then they think that they're going to think humans are food, and they're going to feed it, and then they end up having to put the animal down. So there's your nature tip.
Nature tip 101.
There you go.
So any final thoughts before since this is kind of the last bit, any things that you want to tell us about Florida that we don't know?
It's a really neat place. Like I said, it is a beautiful state. I live in Southeast Florida, so West Palm Beach, down to Boca, those areas of the cities, the big cities. But you got the west coast of Florida, which is really neat. And then you got the northern parts of Florida, which lots of woods, completely different, beautiful rivers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big national forest up there. Ginny Springs, crystal clear water. You can see 30 feet to the bottom.
Wow.
It's incredible. So it's a really neat state. It gets a lot of bad rap because you always see the stupid stories, people doing stupid things in Florida, and Florida man, and just these dumb things that make it on the internet. But that aside, the people have been really friendly. I enjoyed it. My family, my wife's family are all native Floridians, and it's a neat place. So people are pretty nice, just like Texas, very hospitable,
very friendly people. Yeah,
friendly people, and you have good and bad wherever you're going to be. So and there's a lot to do. And like I said, if you love the sunshine, I mean, just get down here, and I'd be happy to show you around.
Yeah.
Give you the Palm Beaches tour. Oh, and not Palm Beach. So Palm Beach is a completely different area. It's in Palm Beach County, but it's a whole different world.
Really? So Palm Beach is not in Palm Beach County?
It is Palm Beach County, but Palm Beach is the island, and it's across, and that's basically like where the president vacations, and everyone else who's rich and famous that have $50 million homes and $30 million homes and whatever million. It's a completely different world over there. So I mean, if you want to buy there, by all means, I'd be happy to help somebody.
Right.
But Palm Beaches is just Palm Beach County in general. That's what we call it.
Okay. Yeah.
And no, I appreciate it. This has been fun. It's the first time I've done this, so
yeah, it's good to have you on the show. I don't know if this is technically a show or not, but we'll say that it is.
Yeah, 3 viewers, so that's a show. That counts.
Yeah, they were watching and commenting, so it was good. But Paul, I wanted to let all of you know that Paul does have his own YouTube channel all about the Palm Beaches. So if you're interested in that area, if you're interested in what to do maybe when you vacation, or if you just want to meet him when you go visit the Palm Beaches, you can reach out to him. In the description below, I have a link to his channel, so you can go check it out, and his contact information is there as well if you want to ask him some more questions about Florida, and that type of thing. So let's see. Yeah,
anything you need, I'll be happy to. If I didn't answer it or anything, just get back to me. I'll be happy to get you the info.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all for today, and we'll just see everybody on the next one.
So is there a Texas one, Florida one?
Oh yeah, who won? So if you're watching this video, even if you watched it after the live, let us know in the comments. Did Texas or Florida win? I don't know.
We all won. That. We all won.
Yeah.
Everybody's a winner. Everyone gets a trophy.
Everyone's a winner. No, I don't know. It's hard because there's some nice things about Florida, and then there are some nice things about Texas, but
two of my favorite places.
I don't know if I would ever move to Florida, even though I know that you moved from Texas to Florida, but I don't know if I could do it. But
yeah, no. Well, I appreciate it. Keep doing good things there. Texas proud.
Yeah, Texas proud.
Y'all. See y'all.
We'll see y'all on the next one.
I'm fixing to get out of here.
You're fixing to?
I
Are
still
you
have.
gonna? Are you gonna?
I'm fixing.
You're
All right.
fixing? Okay. We'll see you
Thanks,
guys
Rebecca. I
later.
appreciate it. All right. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.
And broadcast.